Welcome to this episode of the Comedy Defect podcast. This is another one for the apocalyptic series. This is episode 72 with a very funny and excellent photographer, Mr. Steve Best. 72, guys, we made it to 72. Don't know what that means, but we're there. And we're going to get closer and closer to 100. I don't know what happens when we hit 100. Maybe I'll take a break. We'll see what happens. But I hope you're having a good apocalypse. I have managed to tidy the garage, the shed, and I have put all my tools. Even got a tool tidy, put all them into little drawers, just to make me feel better. I just love that kind of organized stuff. I guess I'm just procrastinating from writing my shows and thinking about the impending end of the world. But you need to do something. You need to get stuff done, because you don't know what's going to happen. So I'm doing all that. It's great. I've got some weeding to do. I put up a floodlight, and I'll talk about that another time because that is just an epic story of misery and frustration. So I hope you're having a good time and things are going well for you. You're mowing the lawns and you're just sort of like wearing hats and headbands now because your hair is so long it's just getting in your eyes and getting annoyed about the fact your grooming session is not kind of happening unless you walk around a bit like Middle Earth and you've got a bit of kind of like a hipster vibe going on. But hey, maybe we all have the hipster vibes. Maybe hipsters knew this before this happened and maybe they were the way forward. I don't know. Before recording this episode, I did an online gig. It didn't go too badly. I kind of enjoyed it actually because it's a bit like this. You got to keep it going. You can't wait for the laughs because if you wait for the laughs, you're just dead in the water just because there's no one there. It's just you're just talking to yourself in a room like I am now. But that is what the online episodes are going to be like. So might be streaming some stuff now because I kind of enjoyed it. It was like nice to kind of write a little bit for there and just do what you want to do because the audience doesn't matter because whoever's going to watch it is not going to be able to give you feedback anyway. You can't see any of the comments, so it doesn't really matter. It's just thrown out into the ether, into the abyss, into oblivion. It doesn't matter. Do your own thing. But it was nice because when I watched it back there, I could see the comments on the videos, and they weren't even they were just like Gogglebox. They were just like commenting on their own comments. It was just like a Facebook post, really. They didn't even care what was going on in the video behind. They're just like pleased to be involved. It was just like basically like MCing, but you're absolutely not connecting with them at all whatsoever because I didn't have any comments. But I didn't do any crowd work because obviously there wasn't a crowd there, but they're online somewhere. But I say it didn't go too badly. That's why I might start streaming myself. I think everyone's starting to stream now. Why not? It's from the comfort of your own home. It's like I did a gig and was home and I had some food. It was odd. I was filled with energy. I didn't know what to do with it. I felt like drinking myself into press myself with some alcohol, but I didn't do that because that's not healthy, especially not around your family. But so maybe go for a run after that. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I need to create a regime to work out the excess energy that I get from the adrenaline from doing gigs at home. It's not like podcasts because you can just do it and go home and that's it. And it's not the same. It's just, you're fully geared up. Try it. But this is episode 72 with a very funny guy and photographer, Stephen Best. I'm seeing Steve at many gigs and he is very funny. He's excellent. He's a very visual comedian and we talk about that in his podcast. I hope you're getting through this all right, guys, and through the apocalypse and things are, kind of, you're not too worried and not too scared about stuff that's going on. I mean, it's kind of, you have days when you're like, great, this is great. This is the best thing ever. I'm watching all this stuff and you have days where like, I just can't get motivated. I know what you're saying. I've that too. I'm trying to get up early and then you get up too early because you buzz because I want to start my stuff and get it done and you're exhausted. Best thing to do, have a nap. Allow yourself a nap. Look, where is it you got to be? Nowhere. You can't go anywhere. Maybe if you got to go out, walk the dogs. That's fine. Walk them in the morning. It's cooler anyway. They like that. Just don't hammer yourself into the ground because we don't know where we got to go yet. We might have another couple of months of this. So just pace yourself. I mean, I'm telling you and I'm telling myself as well. Well, I hope you like this episode. This is episode 72, the April Apocalypse edition, as I say. I hope you enjoy it. And, if you've got comments, let us know. You can follow us. Facebook, we're there. We're on Instagram at Winter Dominus. I haven't got any gigs coming up yet on my website because I didn't. I'll post a link up there if you want to see gigs. But I will be streaming pretty soon, so I'll be putting the link to the streams past and future in the descriptions of the episodes as well, if you fancy seeing that. It'd be something different. I'm getting a little bit darker with my comedy. I mean, I did the 2 years of clean. Now it's getting very dark. But maybe it's just the climate at the moment, right? But I'll say this. I hope you enjoy this episode. This is 72 with the very funny and just such a lovely fella, Mr. Steve Best. Steve Best, thank you for having me in your house. Welcome to the Comedy Defect. How are you?
It's Comedy Defect, is that what it's
the
called?
Comedy Defect, yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm very good actually. Having a cup of tea, nice cup of tea, not bad.
That's very nice, yeah.
No sugars.
What kind of tea is this?
I think it's good old Yorkshire.
Oh, that's the proper
builder's
stuff.
tea. Yeah.
That's it. Is it the hard water special or is it the just the red label?
What's that? Is there a different?
There's a black label one which is specifically for hard water areas. Yeah,
I don't know. It's London hard water.
I think it's pretty soft.
Soft southern bastards.
Further up north is a bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there we are. Write a joke about that, couldn't you?
Yeah,
hard water.
Yeah, I think there is, isn't it? Why not?
So, yeah.
I think there is something.
Past the Watford Gap.
What have you been up to?
Recently, what have I been up to? Gigging. I mean, I kind of came out of gigging for quite a while. Not completely. So into the photography side of things. So it's now kind of 50-50, I would have thought. So last week I did the Comedy Store 40th show and party. So the show's at the store, charity show, and then it was in the Café du Paris.
Oh, right.
Across the road as the party until 3 a.m. So yeah, I was hired as the photographer, the official photographer, which is lovely. But then that next day I was so ill. I got a bacteria or some bug or something like that. So I had to cancel a gig on the Friday after that. And then I did the gig on so back to
very
gigging.
Stressful though, isn't it? Trying to get the good pictures.
It was kind of stressful, yeah, totally. I mean, it was a big kind of star-studded kind of show backstage. Yeah, what was it? Jack D, Michael McIntyre, John Bishop, Omid Djalili, there's loads of people in there. Alexis Hale, he was there. Paul Merton, all those people. So my thing now at the moment is to get some really kind of backstage stuff, which no one else is getting. I think that's the big thing.
That'd be a wonderful book as well, because you do books. You've got Joker Face there, I see behind you, and you've done
Comedy Snapshot. That was the Comedy Snapshot, which is the same thing. So it's kind of just headshots of comedians, and then you're in. Which one are you in? Joker Face.
Joker Face.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Got you. There's about nearly 1,000 comedians in both books. Wow. So I take a picture of them backstage, and some of them are really kind of ropey pictures, I think, because when I first started, it was just with a little point and shoot, and it was just to show what the circuit was, really. Yeah. And because it's ever changing. So the first one came out in 2014, I think it was. And those generally the people I was really working with, the Ian Stones, why did I just mentioning Mike Gunn and loads of kind of acts that I just gigged around, Jongleurs and all those places, the Glee Club and all that stuff. And then so I'd take a picture of them, and then I'd ask them for one line, a joke of theirs, and then 4 or 5 facts about themselves. Yeah. That's not kind of obvious, but just some weird and wonderful stuff. And that was it really. And that was just a labour of love. And I went through a little publishing company that belongs to a comedian who used to be on the circuit. And we kind of published that through a little publishing company, and then that was it.
But it's great to document that stuff as well, because you have having an archive of all these comedians who've been doing the comedy for so many years. You did your exhibition as well with when you did Joker Face.
So the exhibition is more of the fine art stuff that I do. Right. So they weren't portraits, but they were some of the comedians that were in the book. So I don't think any of the pictures in the book are actually in the exhibition, because the exhibition is much more kind of backstage, front stage, fine art, hopefully fine art. Yeah. Who's to say? But it was a real record of the circuit. That was the big thing, because it is really changing now. I think in the last 10 years, I think it's massively changed. You've
got access. You've got the people, and they feel relaxed with you as well. So it's just a perfect thing.
I think that's the big thing. Is you kind of learn on the job kind of thing with the photography side of it. And also I've had some really good people behind me, cameras and all this stuff, who've really helped out along the way. But yes, I think the access is the main thing, and the fact that I've been matey with most of them for 20 odd years.
Right.
Yeah.
So when did you start? Don't have to give me your age, but
you know what? I haven't done. What's weird? I haven't done anything else. So I was a fantastic student at school, but I really mucked up, because when I was doing sixth form, I decided to get into. I was massively into magic when I first started. Right. So I went into the Young Magician of the Year, got to the final of the Young Magician of the Year at the Polka Theatre in Wimbledon. So I was really into magic, and I started off doing kids shows. Actually, that was my big thing.
That's tough, man. They're the hardest thing, isn't it?
Well, kind of. It's completely different to doing stand-up and all that stuff, but it's a good basis to be in front of people. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they're totally.
And they see the smallest detail that you wouldn't even think that.
And they'll tell you as well. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. I mean, they're ruthless. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Worse than any critic you can.
I did a kids show for my daughter and like her friends, and they saw one of them just had a tiny little bit of a silk hanging out. I was like, there it is. Yeah. I was like, oh no, it's just I hate it. It's like, damn you.
Yeah. I mean, you either do those kind of sucker tricks where you want them to see something, but then it's there's something else appears or something, which is great. But I really enjoyed it. But I ended up doing the whole party. So I do the disco, puppets, juggling, games, and then the magic show. I think the way to do it, and if I ever did it again, which I don't think I'd ever do, is I'd do a 45-minute show, and that'll be it, and tour it around. because the parties were just so tiring. And also some of them used to be like 2.5 hours, and half an hour would be for tea. Yeah. So you'd have an hour, and then they have tea, and then you do another hour, which is all right. But then the tea sometimes lasts 5 minutes. And then the parties were going to 3 hours, and that was just so tiring. Crazy. I was Jingles the Jester, so I was a jester. Right. Jingles the Jester I was, yeah. I've still got some photos of that.
What was your tricks when we got into the finals of the
Young Magician? But that was different. That was an adult thing. So that was the Magic Circle organised that. I can't remember. I did a silent act actually. Oh. So I was doing this. There was a trick where you pour a glass of liquid into a bigger glass and it fills it up. Then that pours it into a bigger glass and that fills that up. Right. And then you pour it into a jug and it fills all from one little glass. And then you pour it all the way back into all of them and they fill them all up. Cool. That's a really lovely trick. Yeah. So I did kind of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. No. Yeah. And it was only later on I started getting verbal jokes and things like that.
And so you were Jingles the Jester. How many years did that for?
Well, that was while I was doing my A-levels actually.
Right.
And I used to bunk off school and I just mucked up my A-levels. I was going to apply for uni. I did this thing for these holiday camps audition. I actually had some real original 10-minute original stuff because I didn't. I thought you just write your own stuff. And then I got on this big summer season, 18-week summer season, based in Exeter, went to Cornwall, Devon, all these places. But I'm going to do 50 minutes, and I only had 10 minutes. So I actually had to put together a load of stuff. And that was a real good learning experience, really good. I mean, but you'd go to these places, these caravan parks in Cornwall, and it'd be the whole family there, the kids, the mum and dad, and the grandparents. So you have this room and you'd have to do 50 minutes. It was tough. And some of them I did really well. On other ones I got sacked on the first time and then they pushed me on to something else. But it was fine because you just went on to a different camp.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, it was fine. But it was tiring. After about 3 weeks, I thought, I've done this. Yeah. And I was ready. And that was my beginning of stand-up. Actually, my beginning before that, actually, I went to Cyprus. My dad was doing some accounts for this restaurant in Cyprus. And I went out there, and then I went back in the summer and did table work. So around in this restaurant, close-up magic. And then I developed my first routine at the end of the night in this restaurant. I'd do a bit of magic-y stand-up and 3 minutes, and I'll just do that every night.
Nice.
And that's it.
And you've already got them on board because you're just like connecting with them on the tables.
True. It's kind of comparing as such, going around the table, and then you do a little set. It was fine. I mean, they're all expats out there, all kind of drunk, and it was all right. Yeah, it was good. And
did you know the 15 minutes you did it for was it 3 months around Cornwall and
50 minutes 50 that was interesting because it was kind of magic-y based with lots of one-liners and some of the props were you would buy from magic shops. Like I had the raccoon. It's called Rocky the Raccoon.
Right.
So I had a spring in it. Yeah. And you could make it move so it looks like it's real and alive. Right. And there was a guy, David Williamson, who was a great magician, really funny. And his routine, he brought out this Rocky Raccoon. And I had that, but then I don't, even from when I first started, I'd never want to take something. Yeah. I kind of knew that wasn't right.
Yeah, right.
So then I would change that routine. Some of them were a bit similar lines, but then I would
put you in it.
I put me in it, and also make it my own. And so there was one bit in it where the raccoon would go up my bum through my body and out my mouth. But what I'd have a spare head, and I'd palm the head, and as it put it in my mouth, and so it looked like it was coming out my mouth.
That's great because you even I won't ruin your final bit for your set, but you have something similar to like that at the end of your set, which is great. I loved it because I love watching you. I did this a few months ago. High energy, and it reminded me very much of the energy of Harry Hill.
Oh, okay.
No, totally.
We were talking about this before.
It doesn't make it, it doesn't make dilute, but it's just like, it's like comparing people. It's like apples and oranges, and But it's like that energy, that joy and that fun I'm talking about. It's like rather than his persona.
Yeah. Although we were saying about influences, is that Harry Hill was, when I was starting, he was just about making it. He was just coming off the circuit. And he was doing his kind of little tours. I actually supported him once at the beginning. Yeah. Brilliant. And he was such a nice guy, and I, he actually did my kids' PTA gig recently. Nice. But what was funny was that PTA that said, they found out I did stand up. Yeah. They said, "Can you organise an event?" Yeah. So I got, they couldn't believe it actually because they didn't realise, the connections, all this stuff. So I got Harry Hill, got Milton Jones, and I was comparing. Who else was doing it? Cindy V was on there.
Compared it.
And also one of the grandparents is an actor. I can't remember his name now, but he He's a poet, and he was great as well. But it was just a great night, and the raffle as well. But it was, I think it was just the school was just amazed that they were there doing the gig, and they loved it. Yeah, it was good.
And your status went up quite a bit in the play as well.
Yeah, there are people, because people who didn't know I did stand up suddenly know you do stand up, and you're in the playground for the next year.
That's it. Oh, that's it. Just that's Steve Best.
Yeah, that's an ego thing. The school, big status.
So we're so it's like that's there. So people see on the playground like, oh, there's Steve Best out there. We should go talk to him, sort of thing.
Yeah, but it's not. No, I mean, it's a tiny little first school, so it's fine. Yeah. But it's funny, isn't it, fame thing? Because I think at the beginning when I first started, I was much more ambitious to do that, but I'm not. Don't worry so much now. It's more of a financial concern rather than anything else. Yeah. You kind of there's not very few big famous people. I don't know what it is. They kind of seem to want more kind of thing. I don't think I'm that kind of person.
Do you think that's your upbringing or something, or the humbleness?
I may be too comfortable in one way. Kind of just a middle class family, and I think but maybe not. I don't know. I've always. I think what it is. I've always strived for perfection. I think that's what I do love. So when I get into something, I'm very obsessive. I get into magic and I practice. I got into juggling when I was a kid, and I used to juggle an hour before going to school. So, and then come back and do another 2 hours. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then I really got into the guitar later on when I was about 18 or 19. I did stuff for music at school, and I practiced 8 hours a day.
Wow.
I would get up, and this is when I'd left school, and I was starting to do my kind of comedy and all this stuff, kids shows. But I would play the guitar, so I'd get up at 6 a.m, and I would do scales for an hour, 2 hours. Then have breakfast, do another 2 hours, then do 4 hours in the afternoon.
Wow.
Did that for a year and a half, 2 years. And I was going to go to Andalusia, and I was massively into flamenco. Yeah. I was going to go and study flamenco. Whoa. It's really mad to start. But my mum got really ill, and things happened, and it kind of stopped on that. But I just get obsessed with stuff. Yeah. So then to magic as well.
I'm the same. I get obsessed with things. Like I really do. Like that book that you've got for comedy sayings you lent me.
So that's an obsession thing with me as well. That saying book is, so over the years I collected one-liners from people. I'd quote them and all this stuff. I would just put them on the computer and then I just printed it out, and I've got this what's it?
It's a wedge. It's an encyclopedia, really, isn't it?
Really? Of one-liners. It's just, and I stopped doing that, adding to it maybe 15 years ago. Yeah. This was over a period of 5, 6, 7, 8 years, just writing down one-liners. I just get obsessed with stuff, yeah, totally.
That's the same. I'm exactly the same with any bit of comedy like that. I love, because there's nothing like that book that you've lent me, the comedy saying, out there. There's like, you've got comedy thesaurus out there, and that is great, but it's like very American. There's not really many English comedians in that, but that has got all of them.
Cross-range, isn't it? Because I remember I used to get books out of the library, and they'd have these sayings in them, and so they're collecting from all over the place. And then I was in America for a couple of years, from 2005 I think was. My wife had a job over there, and you get the American, so I'd go into bookshops there and use their books as well. So you'd have all these people that you kind of heard of, but since the internet, everybody's heard of them. But there were all these one-liners and all this. It's a huge amount. Yeah,
you were gigging over there as well.
No, I didn't. I wrote a book over there, which nearly got published.
What's the name of the book?
It was Here's One You Can Use. Which is about autobiographical, but it was a fiction, But I wrote it when I was in the States, and it got really close to being published, but not quite. Again, I spent hours and hours on it. Yeah. But I was going to try and get some gigs. It's in Boston on the East Coast. But it's really tough over there, even then, 2005, because, you can get known in... it's like doing the open spot scene here, where you do 5 or 10, and then you ask you back. Didn't know how long I was going to be there for. Yeah. They've got their little kind of cliques and all that stuff. So you could do well in Boston and then still not known in New York, and certainly not known on the West Coast.
Yeah, right.
So it was not like here in Britain, where you can get well known and
move around.
It's
much smaller places.
Yeah, and drive everywhere.
A huge country. Yeah. But
I enjoyed the experience, but I just decided to just dug down. I was out of the system, not working really, and just writing.
Still being creative though.
I think so. Yeah, I really enjoyed the writing process. A lot of research, and it was about it was taking place on the comedy circuit, obviously, but it was also around the Bosnian War as well.
Right.
So it was a love story.
Okay.
My wife is from that part of the world.
Right.
So it was I kind of did a lot of research on it, all this stuff. So yeah.
What's your wife do?
She's actually senior lecturer in linguistics at UCL. She's really brainy. She came over as a refugee actually, during the Bosnian War, and we met at Greenwich up the creek. So
nice.
She was living over that side, and I was doing a gig there, and she thought it was a disco and didn't realise it was comedy on and wasn't going to come in.
Yeah.
And I was headlining that night and encored it.
Nice.
So, and I was having a party the week afterwards, and coincidentally in Hammersmith, I was living in Hammersmith, and that was it. Yeah.
When you first started comedy, like when you did your first just pure comedy gig, what was that?
First gig. What is it? It's a bit of a because I came, as I said, from the kind of kids entertainment side. I did a big theatre tour, so it's very hard to pinpoint the joke because I was doing visual stuff. I did a lot of magic-y stuff, but a lot of just visual stuff, so not that much magic. It was using magic principles, so a lot of it was just visual gags. So I can't remember, but I know that I had a really strong routine, that Rocky Raccoon that I was telling you about, which was, it was a kind of 5, 6, 7 minute routine, just all feeding it and hypnotising it, and the thing through the bum and mouth and all that stuff. And it was a really shock ending, which was great. That was my big, main stuff. But as I say, it took me years and years to get rid of that. Yeah. I think that's, in a way, one thing that's not held me back, because I'm doing other stuff and it's all kind of gone bigger and all this stuff. But the stand-up, I think, and the people who really do well are the people who constantly write and get rid of stuff, and I found that really hard in my career. Is to when you've got something so strong, is to get rid of it. That is the hardest thing, and that's the piece of advice I'd give anybody. Is just keep writing and keep changing stuff, because fundamentally my stuff, the routines are very similar to from years ago. I had new jokes and gags. But the bulk of it, so because I'm working on other stuff, it looks a bit lazy in a way, but it's so strong that you kind of think, how do I get rid of that and carry on? But the thing is, that's very blinkered and small way of looking at the circuit. And the people who, when I started, the Izzards, Eddie Izzard, who was breaking through at the time, he was ruthless and fearless about doing stuff, and he would just churn out stuff and die on his arse and do it the next week and and eventually he got his style, and that style would work with, he worked hard at writing stuff, but you just got to, be fearless, isn't it?
Just let it go, just to leave it all out there.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to be doing well to and keep doing. You can't just change your set every week and do open spots, because where's that going to get you? Yeah. But once you start getting a name for yourself, you've got to churn out the stuff. That's
what I found was a bit of an albatross around my neck. I was like, right, I need to keep evolving. You try to evolve too quickly at the beginning. Oh yeah. You're desperate to go. I want to get to what I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And you're like, this is the comedian I picture myself as. I said, don't fucking worry about that. Just keep, as you said, keep writing, keep, and the voice will come out in your writing, because that's who you are. And because people get too caught up, I think, sometimes with what's my persona? Who am I? And that's just a question that will answer itself later on, as you said, as you keep writing. Yeah, no, I think so, and keep performing. I mean, but it's hard because it's very different. The circuit's very different from when I started. So you would do an open spot in an established place of people doing their 20s, a proper club. But now it seems to be very separate, the open spot and the club circuit, and also the club circuit's kind of decimated in a way, although it's propping, sprouting out in different forms. But the idea of doing a weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in one place and getting a hotel pay, that kind of feels it's gone. I mean, it's sprouting in different ways. You've got Hot Water and other places. The Glee Stub's still going, the Comedy Store. But when Jongleurs was around, which was it was a hard gig, but also it could be great. There were some Jongleurs that were fantastic, and there were people slagging them off and all this stuff. But it was a good circuit in one sense. It allowed you to do stuff during the week, other stuff that you could experiment with. But the problem with someone like Jongleurs is, I fell into the trap of getting your 19, 20 minutes of really strong stuff, and bang, 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 there's no spaces because you're worried about getting something thrown at you. There's pros and cons about it. That momentum is, because when I saw you closed the other night, was it the momentum and the joy and the physicality was great. I was like, wow, here we go, right, that's it. There was no breathing space in that whatsoever.
No, I very rarely get heckled because there isn't much, and if they do, it doesn't matter really, because then you just do some silly stuff back. I've always had that kind of speed, and so if someone says, "Oh, can you do 40 minutes?" In actual fact, well, if you have 25 there's 40 minutes in there really, you know, that kind of thing.
Get more for your buck.
Well, I always think like doing an hour in Edinburgh is too long to watch someone anyway, but.
Well, you've done the festivals, haven't you?
Yeah, well, that's another thing that, you know, I tell people that it's much harder now because of the cost of it. Yeah, I've only done Edinburgh as my own solo show once. That was underwritten by Karushi at the time, which was, I can't remember, Ed Smith, who's gone on to bigger things. But they kind of underwrote the show, so it took the first £3,000 loss, and it lost about 3,010 quid. So it cost me
10 quid.
Yeah, but it was at the Pleasant. Oh yeah. But everything was paid for. Everything was paid for. So the accommodation, the PR, and I was in a 150-seater room in the Pleasance. You know, that was, and I should. What you know, my problem was that I got so stressed. I was one of the only guys in the whole history of Edinburgh. I think Bill Bailey's one. I'm one where in the same run I got a 5-star review and a 1-star review. Yeah. So to get a 5 and a 1 for the same show, it just shows you the madness of it all. Yeah. But then it wasn't quite as big. I can't remember what year it was. I stupidly got myself reading the critics at the time, and the 5-star came after the 1-star. Yeah. So it kind of, and it was just up and down with my wife. Didn't have kids then, but it was a real roller coaster emotion. And it made me think: am I able to take, if it ever become famous, can I take this? Because I found it really hard. This thing I found really hard. But what I should have done is carried on the next year, because people were really into what I was doing at the time, and I was kind of in newspapers, and people saying this is a guy to look out for, you know, visually, as a visual comedian, and they're comparing me to kind of greats and all this stuff, and then I should have just gone back the next year with a new show. And that's the idea of being fearless, writing. But it took me ages to write that show. You know, all the time I'd been doing stand-up, that was my show, and that's what happens, isn't it? The first hour is a culmination of I think, I've got to do that again. But you've got to.
What's the name of your show?
Oh, that's the other thing. Robin Ince talks about it. It's called Steve Best is Immature. And one of the critics said, "This is a bit immature, this show."
Oh no, come on!
And Robin Ince recounts that story when he does this gig. I think within his show. Yeah. And it was, but that is, I mean, it was a student review or something like that. But even so, you think, it just destroys you. You think, But I did find with the audiences, it was quite hard because one night, sell out at the weekends, 150 people is great. Coming to see you is extraordinary. And some nights it would be like a theatre crowd where they would just like, you know, smile and applaud and all that. And other nights it was raucous and it was fantastic. Yeah. So it was so hard.
What was your time?
You know, it was kind of 7, 8 o'clock.
That's great, isn't it? You're not too exhausted after.
No, it was fine. It was everything was perfect about it. Right. Except it was tiring and I should have just carried on. I mean, that's how you make it. Right.
But I mean, to be fair, like paying 10 quid for an Edinburgh run is amazing.
I mean, I heard this year it's really tough because they put the accommodation up now. Yeah. Because apparently the landlords aren't allowed to chuck out students for that month. Oh. I'm not too sure what it is, but it's made them less rooms, I think.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what's going to happen now after next year. I've seen a lot of people really saying that it's kind of doubled the accommodation, and was already expensive.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's all right if you're doing a free fringe, but even if you're doing the free fringe, I mean, if you're laying out $2,500 for accommodation or something like that, and then you've got the PR and all the other stuff that goes with it, I think it's tough, really.
Big time. I'm not doing the fringe for another few years at least. I'm just going to enjoy the circuit. As we're talking about, like keeping your set tight and putting as many jokes in as possible, and want to give them as much as possible in a short space of time, and keep crafting and working on that, and you could do maybe 30-40 minutes, yeah, sure, but like an hour is too long.
It can be too long. I mean, there's very few people that can do the hour. I mean, Edinburgh's different because sometimes there's themes to it, and it's not always, doesn't have to be kind of I just think that there's Edinburgh acts and there's circuit acts. Sure. I mean, some of them cross over very much, but you know, doing the circuit, I'm always torn between this because I think to move on and upwards, and the people who've got the vision is you would do both. But I think it's very hard to go up to Edinburgh and just do an hour of just great stand-up. Not because it's not great, but because the industry aren't looking for that. And it's a shame because, you know, I heard great people. I was up there last year doing an exhibition and taking photos and all this stuff. But I heard a lot of news that there's some great stuff going on, just an hour of stand-up, but it wasn't getting any reviews or anything like that. You just think, well, what's it about? It's a different thing. TVs are looking for other stuff, but we've got it in our hands to do what we want. Because we've got the internet. Yeah. TV isn't as important as it once was, I don't think. So people have made their names elsewhere, but you've got to be creative that way still and keep writing. Yeah.
As you said, like keep writing and keep doing other things as well that you enjoy doing. And we were saying before we started, like that you hope to have a back catalogue of things that you can reach for eventually.
Yeah.
I'll also do this, and this.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot more people, my generation of the stand-up, are diversifying, whether it's podcasts or this or that, writing, or because you have to now. Because there was a time, I think 10 years ago or so, where you could make a really good living just being a stand-up comedian on the circuit, and there's no other country, I don't think, certainly not in America really, but this country was fantastic for that. If you think about it, we had a real great boom, and just the way it was set up, and you were earning then, the money's gone down slightly, I think. So this was 15, 20 years ago, and you couldn't believe you were quite doing it. And luckily I kind of put a bit away and invested in, but a lot of people just spunked it all anyway, so it's very hard now for the people of my generation to think, what am I going to do? When you first started, who did you model yourself on? Well, growing up wise, we didn't have a TV when I was... You didn't have a TV at all? No, until my grandma died when I was about 13. We didn't, but my parents were kind of quite hippie-ish. My mum was very hippie-ish. My dad was a mathematician, but she was kind of a fossil hunting artist. She was great. Was she an archaeologist, or was she like? No, she was an artist. Well, she did. She had exhibitions and drawing. Pen and ink. But, she was a very good artist. We're not kind of making a living out of it. So we used to draw when we were kids, and we used to listen to records, vinyl. So they were massively into things like the Goons. I'm Sorry, I'll Read It Again. We used to listen to all the 6:30 shows on Radio 4, which some of them were terrible. Like the Round the Horn. Yeah, Round the Horn, all that stuff, was it the Navy Lark and things like that? Yeah. What's the other thing as well? I've listened to, what's the other thing? Navy Lark, Round the Horn. Kenneth Williams show, was it something? Well, he was, but they used to have the old version, I'm Sorry, I Read It Again. Yeah, I'm Sorry, I Haven't a Clue. Sorry, I Haven't a Clue, yeah. That's great, with John Cleese and all those guys. And the goodies. There's loads of stuff going on record. So I kind of grew up on vinyl, but then as I was growing up, then I collected videos, VHSs. And I used to go to clubs to watch the people like Jimmy Jones and people like that, and who are a bit like kind of the Jim Davison kind of feel to it. But just to see, and I saw Bob Monkhouse live and all these people, and then I get VHSs of the people when there was a time when lots of Jerry Sadowitz and people like that were doing VHSs and videos. So I'd watch a load of those. Be influenced with Steve Martin, I think, early when his white suit, arrow through the head days. Love him. And I remember seeing that. And I remember seeing that video of him in that big arena. Have you seen that one? I remember. It's massive. Massive. It's like the O2, isn't it? It's a tiny little dot in this huge venue. Yeah, and the Fonz comes on at the end. Oh, is that right? I didn't see that to the end. Yeah, right at the end he comes on and he does King Tut. And Fonz is holding the back, which is, really. But it was a massive eye-opener because it was this kind of guy who was doing visual silliness, juggling, all the stuff that I'd learned. Yes. It's very similar to me, magic and juggling, the stuff that my kind of path. And now I don't know if you've read his book, Born Standing Up. I've heard it, and because he did start off in a magic shop, didn't he? And it's very similar. That Born Standing Up is mostly one of the best books on stand-up. This is kind of his days as he was, because he was nearly gave up. He was dying on his arse, but he was doing stuff that no one else was doing. And I think he kind of grabbed something and suddenly it worked. But then those big stadium gigs, that was the beginning of the end though, because he found it really hard to control the audience. There's always, even if it's 1% who were heckling, that's a lot of people in that kind of... So I think that was the hard thing for him. Yeah, but I remember watching that VH and think, I didn't get it the first time. I was watching this, it's all right. And then you watch it again, this is just great. And his CDs are really funny as well. Brought out 3 or 4 CDs. I don't think I've listened to I've only heard I've only seen that one when he's in the stadium. Yeah, no, the CDs are very funny, really funny. So yeah, he was massive. But then I remember listened to Bill Hicks again. They're completely different.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm decorating my first flat I bought, listening to him over and over again.
Yeah.
There's a couple of albums, Ranting.
There's a few, Relentless.
No, but the bit after that, his last bit, Arizona Bay. That's a seminal. I mean, this is when he started someone playing music behind him as well. As a guitarist playing it. I mean, it's cut from different shows, but it's sublime. I mean, I thought so, and I know people slag him off now, but I do think he was one of the best stand-ups.
Different time.
Yeah, and I think it's good to get an influence from completely different styles. I mean, I'd never do anything similar to Bill Hicks, but it's good to listen to his timing and the way he constructs his routines. I mean, even people like Tommy Cooper when I was growing up, you know.
And Frankie Howard as well.
Yeah, I was never massive into Frankie. No, I didn't quite get Frankie Howard.
He's a bit, but he's very scatterbrained as well, isn't he? Like, you know.
Yeah. Although apparently people were saying everything was written, all those little.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not.
So you do the photography and you do the stand-up. Do you act as well, Steve?
No, I'm not. I know I have been asked to do things, but I would only do it in my style. I find acting I'm not an actor. So you've got to know your limit. I'm not an actor. Yeah. I think my non-actingness would shine through my acting. Initially, I did a little actual Adam Kay, you know, the doctor.
Yes.
Comedian.
Yeah, there's a lot of doctors come comedians.
Yeah, Harry was
Harry,
one.
yeah, there's you've got
Lee Nelson.
Yeah, Lee Nelson, that's right.
Oh yeah, so he got me to do an internal advert for this building company. I had to have a tattoo on my neck, and I was right, old man, all right. And I could just about do that. It was all right. But when you look back at it, you think I can see me through that. I'm not, you know.
That's all right, isn't it? It's a bit well paid, isn't it?
It was all right. if you get something, yeah, sure, yeah. But I've always had that, you know, that Bill Hicks thing about doing adverts, and I just can't.
It doesn't sell out.
We're kind of, but it's, you know, I'm completely not that thing. I think he can understand someone who needs the money, and that, but I do find it when I do listen to him in my head. If I see someone messy or something like that doing a Walker's Crisps advert, you think, where does this? I can understand Grenson Shoes, who started helping me out with certain things, and I love their shoes. They're kind of British made, beautifully made shoes. We did some stuff together, and you know, if something like that, they said, "You'll do an advert." I said, "Yeah, I'll do an advert," because I love their stuff. But you know, what?
You feel like you're a shill.
Yeah, I don't know what it is actually. Again, there's a fine point between needing the money and not needing the money. So what if you need the money? I can understand slightly. Yeah. But someone like, you know, the big names, you say, "What? Why?" Yeah,
like when you see Kevin Bacon do that for Orange.
You're
like, Kevin Bacon, you're in everything. Why do you need to do Orange?
There must be, you know, they just said, "Well, here's £5 million," which most of what they have done. But even then, unless there's some kind of tax, Willie Nelson, wasn't it, at the time, he had a massive tax bill. That's the Bill Hicks thing as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So
but you had to go at Jay Leno, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
He was hawking tacos or something like that.
Everything, just everywhere, just trying to make as much money as possible.
Well, it's just...
Well, it's fair, I guess, in a way, isn't it? You just got to see, you know, how far you can push it, I guess.
Well, it depends what it's about. I mean, is it about making money, or is it being famous for...
Yeah, you're a purist then, isn't it? Like you're like, I mean, not in a derogatory sense, but like you're like, comedy. I love comedy. Well, I don't want to be like that.
I don't think it's as pure. I mean, we're talking about perfection. I think it's about loving art. I think so. It doesn't have to be. It sounds a bit arty, wanky this way, but I do love watching someone who's fantastic at the piano or something like that. You just think it's the hours they put into this. I mean, sometimes with the comedy you can't see how many hours someone's put into it, or photography or something like that, but just the effort and the energy and the love for something, sure. And it's something you think, well, actually you're now famous, so here's a packet of crisps, here's £1 million. It just doesn't ring, it doesn't make, it's not,
I've got an image now of someone playing the piano, and like after they finish their recital, they just pull a piece of Pizza Hut, Pizza Hut. That's it. Out of the actual, you know, the open piano, the grand piano sort of thing. Yeah, it's just
I mean, if it makes sense. I mean, in a way, I remember Jack D doing those bitter adverts years ago, wasn't it? And it kind of was funny. I mean, the advert's funny, and it's kind of it's all right. And that's kind of art in itself, in a way. It's okay-ish. I don't know. I haven't got any fast rules, and it's just sometimes you just think, this is just, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, you know why? Because it's the money. It can't be anything else.
What was the thing that was the hardest to get over when you first started comedy, or like performance?
In what sense? So,
Like what were you, does it like the the fear? I mean, is it a fear because you're obsessive? Does it come from a place of like just like I guess it's always fear at the beginning.
Well, I suppose so, and I think that's maybe I've never been too good at being thick-skinned, so that's maybe holds one back. So you don't become fearless, carry on writing because you want to be loved all the time and not have a bad show. And I think I haven't overcome that.
It's detrimental sometimes.
I think it's that
aim for perfection.
Yeah, but even if you aim for perfection, you know there's a higher perfection, isn't there? Because you've got to fail. And I have. Everybody's died on their arse. I remember doing Glastonbury. I think it's one of the first gigs my wife came to. This was the Glastonbury where it was the wettest on record. But I remember it was the time where Corky and the Juice Pigs were still around. Right. Phil Nicol, who was part of Corky, and they were brilliant. I mean, they were so strong in energy, and it was the comedy tent. It was pissing out with the rain outside, so everybody's in shelter, and I remember they stormed it. They got 2 or 3 encores. With a comedy tent, it just carries on. It doesn't matter. It just carries on. There's no break. If the audience want to break, they leave. So the actual show carries. Straight after that was Mr. Methane.
Oh yeah, the fart guy.
The fart guy who does. I mean, it's very funny and great for festivals. And he does real farts, and he puts powder on his arse cheeks so that you can see it's
he's farting.
Out. So he actually, I think he went on after Cork in the Juice Pigs and carried on this stormy thing. And then I think it was Brendan Burns actually was comparing it. He just had to carry on. He just brought me on after me.
How can you follow a fart? You can't.
I used to do a fart routine as well, but I did not then. And also after Cork in the Juice. I mean, really, they should have just finished the night with Cork in the Juice Pigs. And then I went on, and it was just maybe 1,000 people in the tent just kind of shouting at me. And then I kind of carried on. I did my time, I think it was 10, 15 minutes. And I thought, okay, I did all right in the end. Yeah. And I came backstage and I do this routine that I've kind of brought back recently, this kind of cloth routine where you do face changes with an extra hand. Again, another magic principle of an extra hand. And I was unsetting my stuff, and Alex, wife, was there, and we were backstage, and she I kind of went all right, and then I was going through my props, and I found all these little mud balls in all my props. So people, while I was on stage, have been throwing mud at me. Oh, and they're all in my props. So I realised, as I was on stage, people were just chucking shit at me.
No. What's that? I mean, that, again, there's 1,000 people. Again, 1% of the audience, maybe.
Well, maybe more than that.
Oh, no.
But yeah.
Because your stuff is clean, isn't it? Very clean, isn't it? It's not.
It's again, I had an experience about 3 months ago that I've never had in my whole career. It is fairly clean. And this is just to show you how some people can take your stuff as anything but. I did. I'm not going to mention the book because I really like the book. But I did a gig in a church, and I'm told to keep it clean. I don't swear. I used to say the C word in a bit of my act where it worked so well because it was so unexpected. Yeah. And I pretended the mic wasn't working anyway. Yeah. And is this on? That kind of thing. And so it was. But I haven't done that for ages. But what was really interesting was I went on first on that gig. After someone compared really well, and it went really well. So I was doing this gig and did fine. There was an interval, and as I came off, some of the audience high-fived me. I mean, it's quite an old audience, and it was in the church. Yeah, a new kind of church, a kind of newborny kind of feeling to it. Right. And then as I'm walking out the door, the vicar, priest, the main man, big guy. God. He said, "Can I have a word with you?" And I said, "Oh, just go." And he's he looked really angry. I said, "Sure." And luckily, one of the other organisers, a young guy, came into the room with me. So he came into this room, just the three of us. And he just ripped me a new arse. I mean, really went into me, and he said, "That is the most offensive thing I've ever seen in my life. You're going to get me closed down. This is it." And I said, I thought he was joking. I thought it was like a Monty Python sketch, and I started laughing, and his face was. He looked like he was going to. He was an ex-army, turned out, who newborn, so very, very. And I said, I don't understand. After I realised he wasn't joking, and I started shaking because I thought he was going to hit me. Yeah. He really was up in my face. I said, he said, "You're going to get me closed down and get so many complaints." But whose complaint? I mean, what do you mean? And then he started. So he said, "There's one joke I'll do. Kylie Minogue is an anagram of "you like minge," which actually it's not really a joke. It's true. That is an anagram of "you like minge," and I do say the word minge. And I said, well, that's just an anagram. And after that, I say dyslexia is an anagram of horse, which it's just a little joke. And I said, I tried to explain to him that's just I'm not describing a minge. It's just a word. And then I do a joke, which I think is a really nice joke. I went to the hypnotist. I know doctor. I can't remember what it is, but it's a Freudian. I made a Freudian slip. So he said you said the word clit. I said but it's a Freudian slit, clit, slip, slip, clit, slip. Yeah. That's the joke. It's a clit. I'm not talking about a clit, and you just wouldn't have it.
It's a verbal tick, isn't it? That's what it is.
It's not saying whatever you want to say. It's a word.
There's so many things that what we're seeing your set. There's so many jokes in it that people wouldn't even remember that joke. I mean, I'm not saying he's right, but you know what I mean. There's such a momentum that they'll laugh and they're like, I don't know what's. But
I think they're kind of trigger words to someone like that, where he suddenly hears it and thinks, you can't say that in a church.
Yeah, right.
But it's not even. But anyway, he wouldn't have it. And I was there for about 20 minutes.
Whoa! I might pay it again. Did you pay it again?
And he just would not have it. And in the end, I said, look, I'm not backing down. I said to him, I said, this is my... And he said, do you think... He kept saying, this is not funny. I mean, these... And I said, well, comedy is subjective and, I understand if you don't find it funny, but I don't agree with you that it's rude. In the end... He kind of quieted down a bit, and I said, look, we have to agree to disagree. Yeah. But I was shaking when I left it, and that's the first time ever I've had that. I've had people hating my stuff, that's fine, go for it.
But just trying to convince you that you were wrong about it. So it's like, I've done this you did it for like 28, how many years have you done it?
Yeah, over 20 something years.
That's great though, I love it. That's why I love talking to you guys who've been doing 20 something years. I say you're like multiple versions of Yoda.
There we go.
Yeah.
But the thing is also is that I haven't done anything else, and it's quite weird to tell people I've never had an interview, never worn a suit. I think I've worn a suit somewhere along there, but I don't know what a tie is. That kind of feeling, and it's nice to do that.
Yes.
I mean, it's been a bit hard in the last 4 or 5 years as I've kind of changed into more photography and all this stuff to make that work.
But that's great because it gives you so much power when someone says that to you. So look, I've done this all my life now.
Kind of, but yes, in one sense. But does that help really? I mean, I think you've got to have an inner belief in that, and I think more so now, where you just think, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I don't. What doesn't matter really? Does it matter? No. It really doesn't. That's the thing now. But it does matter because I've got 2 kids, and financially it matters. Yeah. So, but it's hard now for people starting out because there's no middle circuit. So when I started, you could do an open spot, and then 3 months you'd be doing a proper paid 10 and 20. I mean, there was less clubs, but there were less people doing it as well, I suppose.
Did you not do cruise ships or anything like that? Or?
I was off for cruise ships actually when my kids were very young, and although that's the time to get away from the house a little bit. But it was, I could still do them, but that kind of market is different now as well. I think it's still there. I mean, there was a time when there was lots of people from the circuit were going on to cruises. Yeah, kind of. I'd think about it. I was thinking about going back into close-up magic. Because I really enjoy doing it. I really do enjoy doing it. It's kind of more lucrative in one sense. Because, as I said, the circuit hasn't gone up at all. And, everything else has gone up.
Do you not do any, do you write sitcoms as well or anything like that?
Well, I had a company with Simon Minty, one best mate, called Abnormally Funny People. So we had, that was disabled comedians. So I was the token non-disabled act. So usually it's a token disabled act in the show. So I was the token non-disabled, and that was our thing for 10 years. So that's 2005 to 2015. We did 10 years. So we went up to Edinburgh, and we were backed by Sky at the time, and it was a big thing. And we had people like Liz Carr, Tanya Lee Davis, Steve Day, Chris McCausland. They're all part of our... Well, we weren't managing them, but it was a show with disabled comedians. Cool. And we wrote a sitcom that got up to hat-trick, up to Jimmy Mulville. He script edited the first thing. This was only about 5-6 years ago, and it got so far. We came out of the meeting at hat-trick and thought, we've done it. This is what... So it's a really good really funny, I thought. But it was the same time that Ricky Gervais was doing Life's Too Short, which I personally didn't think, I mean, I like Gervais's stuff, I really like The Office and Extras, but I thought this series was not good at all, because it was more laughing at disability, and we were very much very disabled stuff, but really funny, visual, and just it was really, really good. And the kind of TV at the time, okay, well, you've got something, and it's Gervais, so it got put into back burner, and that was it. I kind of brought it back a couple of years ago, and it got not as far, but people did like it still. But it's very hard to bring something back that you've written.
It might, you never know. It might get uncovered again.
Yeah, I mean, the idea, in a way, is if you had a little bit of money, is to make 10 minutes of it. But it's time and effort, and it's very hard. And I've come out of having only funny people now because everything else was getting too busy.
Do you do any other festivals now? You just like focus on the circuit and the camera work?
Yeah, I think so at the moment. Festival wise, I would go up to Edinburgh again, and I do a show around the photography now. So I've gone into a few camera clubs, which is fun actually, because there's about 100 slides. Right. And bang, bang, bang. It's similar to my act,
right.
But it's not as fun. It's not as kind of again one-linery. But it's about the cameras I use and my access and comedians and the publishing and how I've got the books out. And so it's actually a very interesting talk.
Yeah, but that's it. You're using that skill to still do the thing you love, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. The idea of doing stand-up-ish in a different environment.
That's great. That's such a great, because
no one else is doing that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're showing them how to do it in a funny way, and who's not going to absorb that? So
and also it's a subject matter. It's not about wedding photography or sport. It's very few people are in that side of photography, and very few photographers are comfortable in public speaking in a way. So that's something I'm really pushing, because there's loads of camera clubs.
It's niche.
Yeah, it's kind of it's just getting into them. But what's interesting, I did try out one in Bedford. They were really nice. They saw me do a talk at a festival, and they asked me to come along. But I always thought selling merch at the end of it would be great, because I've got prints, I've got books, and all that stuff. But it's a hard sell. It's 80% male in the camera clubs, over 60.
Even on the cruise ships and things like that. Because I used to work on the cruise ships as a fitness instructor.
I
did a couple of gigs on there.
Right.
Piano bar set up. And I did a few spots, and they got complaints. And
did they? Did they?
Yeah. Because I was terrible at the time. I did some really rude stuff because it was a beginning, and I was that's all I had.
Cruise is different, and you've got to really keep it clean, unless they do a late show.
And I was on the Coffin Dodgers Express.
And
so anyway, so I was there, and they did have people on doing similar talks like that in the day. Someone would talk about camera work or whatever it was, a specific thing.
That's
so you could maybe still do that too.
It really does interest me that to find out the different routes now, but it's a chicken and egg thing. Is because the more you get known as a photographer, then you'll be offered that kind of thing. But it's trying to, and I was talking to the guy who does my prints, Alex Schneiderman in Flow Photography. He's the most wonderful. He's a great photographer as well. He's a master printer, and he does my exhibition prints.
Great.
And his advice to me as a photographer was just keep taking stuff, keep being creative, because you can't be ignored, because you've got such a backlog of work of the stuff that no one else has really got. It's like in the old days with David Bailey taking backstage pictures of Rolling Stones or something like that. At the time, that was real rock and roll. What was it? Rock and roll. Some of those stuff is
really respected. Everyone knows that name.
Yeah.
As well. And you know what, the Steve Best, your name is. I used to go to school with a girl called Simone Best, and her dad was Steve Best as well. I was like, when I saw your name first on the circuit, I was like, that's not the same guy, is it? He comes to England and he lives in London. He used to be a hairdresser. And I was like, but it's not you. But it was for a while I was like.
But there is another Steve Best that does gift cards. They're very funny. Look him up. I don't know if he's still doing it actually. He used to do these a bit like Larson. Gary Larson, who did animal pictures, cartoons.
Right.
But Steve Best was one of those.
The word TED Talk sounds derogatory in this sense, but I'm not meaning that way. But that would be a really interesting idea if you can get because it'd be funny too, and it would really it'd be like this is what I do, because it's so hard to capture comedy in a film sense, even in that spontaneity and that moment. But you were doing it in a still picture sense as well, which is even harder because you've only got one shot, really, haven't you? That gets it.
Yeah,
multiple, but you know what I mean. You get that moment.
Yeah. Sometimes you miss it. I mean, it's again that photography thing. If you take a old roll of film of 36, if you get one out of that roll, then you should be happy. And it's the same, but the same with digital. Really, you can take loads and loads and not get it. You know, that one of the Comedy Store show and party. Maybe there's 2 that I would, in the whole 1,000 photographs, that I would think actually I would use this for my career, as in one of my backstage lovely shots, arty shots.
I'll be interested to see your camera speech, like into your talk.
Yeah, I mean that was the big thing. I went up to Edinburgh 2 years ago and did the Stills Gallery, which was a really prestigious photography gallery. That's when I started, so I tried to put a little talk together every afternoon. And it's kind of evolved since then, because it was a bit dry and all this stuff, and it just takes time. It's like anything, writing something. Yeah, I want to carry on doing it. I will try and get some more camera clubs next in the autumn or something like that.
A niche and no one else is doing it, man. That's it. Like those, I guess there must be camera festivals as well, is there?
Yeah, I mean those kind of things, the hobbyists and all that. It's massive. Anything like that, cycling, photography. I mean, people do workshops and away weekends and all this stuff, seminars, and I mean, it's huge, the photography world.
And you get sponsored, Steve, and then you're like,
well, you know what? I'm going to mention, because they've been so fantastic to me, that Fujifilm. Initially, we were talking about Johnny Murph, who's a stand-up. But he used to be manager at Leica, and he's in Joker Face, my book. I remember going past Red Dot Cameras, which is Leica cameras in Clerkenwell, and I was trying to get sponsorship. This was years ago, and this guy mentioned this John, that he's manager at Mayfair. So I went to Leica's shop in Mayfair. And he got it straight away. He loved it, and I went in about 2 or 3 times. And Leica, through him, were going to lend me the top of the range. I mean, I don't know if you know, Leica's just the hand-built German cameras. I mean, they're just 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 grand worth of camera. I mean, the lens I was playing around with, this is one of the fastest lenses. It was the fastest lens in the world, as in speed. And the lens alone was, I think it was 7, 8 grand at the time. I mean, we're not just talking about money all the time, all this stuff, but the fact is, it was just craft. I mean, it was just a beautiful piece of glass. So we're playing around with that, and I was about to go in and pick up some not that lens, but I was going to pick it up for a couple of months to borrow. And then the manager at Leica, who I'd never met before, phoned me up and said, "Look, we don't do this." But then John put me on to someone at Fujifilm. They got it straight away, and they started lending me their stuff. They kind of were sponsored. So if you look in Joker Face, the book, they have got their logo, Fujifilm.
Oh, great.
But it's just trying to carry on that relationship, and they last for a couple of years, that relationship, and then and now is a time that you think, actually, this is the time, because I'm really creating some great stuff with your cameras. Come on. Yeah. But that's not the way business works. Right. It's very hard.
You could maybe just take it to other camera places, would you say? Yeah.
Well, I suppose, but all the stuff, in a way, people like Sony and they're massively into their cameras at the moment, and they're a bigger company in a way, because they do so much other stuff, and they mostly would be interested. But the fact is, all my stuff's shot on Fuji, it's not so you can.
That's it, you can't
But they've been fantastic. So up to now, and I still have a relationship with a guy there, and we get on really well. We can still meet. I always think it's very hard, because you do with art sometimes. In the old times, you'd have these patrons and people chucking millions. Some of the big artists at the time, you think it's very hard to keep financially going with that if you've not got any income on that side. So you've got to do photo shoots. I'll do that, portrait stuff.
Yeah, they're great. I've been milking the hell out of that picture that you got of me, but just made me pointing at myself. I'm like, so I've got my website done recently with those pictures, and they look great. Thank you. They're really great pictures. I hate having my picture taken. So
a lot of people do. It's funny, because you always find comedians think that some of them do love being in front of the camera, but a lot of people don't like it. They want to do jokes. They want to have a picture taken. But hopefully, because I know most people, that you can come in and we have a chat and I click away. I mean, with Scott, I think I mentioned to you, Scott Kapoor he's a good friend. He kind of wanted to shoot me, and he said, "I don't want any pose shots." So I just chatted for an hour, just clicking away.
That's great.
And you're going to get a lot of blinky eye shots, but you'll get 1 or 2 really nice ones. And if you start telling in the acts and telling jokes, people are laughing.
So what's the next step, Steve?
Well, I was going to go up to Edinburgh, but I'm not going this year. But I don't think Edinburgh is the right place for me at the moment, because it's so much going on there. I've got an exhibition that was meant to be in July, but now it's going to be in October in London, of 16, I think, of my prints of the Observatory Gallery in Russell Square, which is fantastic, and that's the place to be. So that's in October, so I'm building up towards that. The Saatchi Gallery took 3 of my pictures.
Great.
Which is, great to have the word Saatchi, but it's one of they've got an in-screen thing where they put a lot of new artists on their screen. So that, if you go into Saatchi, you'll see my, which is amazing. I wrote to them and said, look, you've got my picture now, how can we work together a bit? And then Saatchi's massive, so they only work with a certain amount of artists properly like that. So it's just pushing out the work, carrying on taking pictures. I'm gigging, most weekends and all that stuff.
What we're talking about here, the whole thing is what we're saying from the beginning. It's like, just build a massive portfolio of work. And make it as good as you can. Start, isn't it? Yeah,
I mean, comedy certainly. I think it's very different to when I started, and I think it's much harder to make a name for yourself because there's so many people doing it, and so many clubs that are just doing open spots or bring a friend. I don't know how it works now. It's very hard to leap onto the professional circuit, and the professional circuit now is much harder because it's not as professional financially as it was. But I still think with any creative, artistic industry, you just got to create. You've got to keep writing or keep drawing or keep photographing, whatever it is. You've got to keep doing it.
Keep building those credits.
Yeah.
So you got...
Be fearless. But I do think that it's very hard to learn stand up. I'm actually just starting a course for Hills Jago. I'm one of her teachers now. Because I forgot to say, I took over from Hugh Thomas from Middlesex University. So for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years now, I've been teaching at Middlesex University. As a visiting lecturer at they do a drama course, and 3rd year they can do the comedy module. Quite a few famous people have come from that university actually. Can't think of anything, but I will in a minute. But so I've been doing that, so I'm kind of used to the teaching. I really enjoy it actually. So you kind of feel like you're giving something, and you forget how much you know as well. So you see someone and think, actually that's not working because of that. So I do some like 40 hours for them. But now, Hills, I'm doing her one, a beginner's course. There's an extensive, intensive one on the Wednesdays. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting. I like that. Teaching.
It's fun, isn't it? You just revisiting things you thought you as I said, things you've forgotten that you know. Yeah,
and you kind of work out. You can, of course, mic technique and other things you can teach them, but teaching them, it's kind of where their truth is, where their funny bone is, and you can teach them how to write jokes, but a lot of the time people want to do observational stuff or stuff about themselves, and it's interesting. We'll see.
You're not going up to Edinburgh this year?
No, I mean, I'd have to work out why I was going up there. I mean, I did Mervyn Stutter's, I did his photography last year, which I really enjoyed, actually. So I did his, because I don't know if you know the Mervyn Stutter show, it's basically a compilation show. It's in the morning, and he has people on who are in the festival doing 5 minutes, and then he interviews them a little bit. So it's theatres, comedy, there's, all sort of clowning, everything, all kind of stuff, music. It's a good show, actually. It's like an hour and a half, and you can basically see a variety show. And then you can choose, they give out leaflets at the end, you can choose what you want to go to. So I did this photography for that, and then I had an exhibition at the Pleasance Dome last year. It was good, but it's extraordinary how you get lost. You've got one of the biggest venues there, and you're standing outside and say, "Oh, Steve, what are you doing up here?" And you think, put your head in here and you can see my picture. But so it was, and I don't know if it's the right place for all that. I really don't. But unless I was doing a show, my kind of lecture kind of show around it, I'd be interested to do it.
Great.
I'd have to really kind of work out how to make it just a bit funnier, because at the moment I'm not sure, because you've got to work out, because when I do it for the camera clubs, it's more honed towards the photography side of it. So who do you do it to?
Just like ramp it up or ramp it down. It's easy.
I think so. I'll have to work it.
And so your exhibition is in October in.
It'll be the Observatory Photography Gallery in Marchmont Street, which is in Russell Square. That's going to be there for about 6 months, I think. And then from there, hopefully, other galleries, and you can get people say, "Look, come and have a look at it."
Brilliant.
I mean, that could be the start of something quite nice. We'll see. But
I hope it is, man.
Yeah.
And so we can find you stevebest.com.
www. That's my dad would say that. www.stevebest.com. But there's very much about photography. There is a comedy side to it, because I should put my diary on that as well. But at the moment, it's kind of about exposure to risk, which is the name of the exhibition.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, Steve, thanks for coming on, man. It's been great.
It's been a pleasure.
Cool. That was episode 72. Steve Best, photographer, comedian, just all round great guy. Go check him out. Go check his website out. stevebest.com, I think it is. And go find him there. Go and see him. Go get photographs taken from him. He's an excellent photographer. He managed to get me just right. There was a few where I was like kind of, that moment, that split second when the shutter goes off and you like a gurn. But hey, look, he got some great pictures, which I've been milking. Brilliant photographer, lovely fella. Go and see him. And if you ever see him on a bill, go and see him live. He's brilliant. So that was episode 72, guys. I hope you liked it. You can follow us on Instagram at WinterDominus. That's WinterDominus. And I will be streaming pretty soon some comedy that I'll just be writing and just putting straight out. If you'd like the links for that, well, they'll be on the Facebook group, The Comedy Defect. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, sure, why not? Go to Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast, and you'll see a picture of my face and the logo of The Comedy Defect, and you can donate as much as you feel this podcast is worth. Maybe as much as a coffee or whatever you feel like, maybe just some sleeping tablets. I don't know what you want me to. What do you want? What do you want me to do? Do you tell me what you want me to do, or where you'd like your donation to be applied? Let me know. Let me know where you'd like that to be applied, and then I will tag you in an Instagram post and let you know that has actually gone to where you wanted it to go to. It could go on biscuits, anything. Maybe something that I don't even like. What do I not like? Don't really like. Not a big fan of anchovies. So if you want to buy anchovies with your donation, you can do that too. I mean, maybe you could come over if you like anchovies. It's fine. We'll make a pizza. That's the only thing that anchovies go well on, isn't it? Pizza. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but they don't really go. That's really salty and no. I don't know why I'm talking about anchovies. But look, that was episode 72, and I hope you enjoyed it. We've got the next episode, which is at the end of May, and that will be with an excellent comedian. He's been on the circuit maybe over 20 years. It is the fantastic and just incredible guy, Adam Bloom. I'm really proud of that one. It's really fun. Hopefully we won't be on a lockdown then as well. We can listen to it outside on your second time if you left your house. And that will be the last Wednesday in May, Adam Bloom for episode 73. And that's all I'm going to say for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed it. That was Steve Best. Next is Adam Bloom. Enjoy your days off, get your stuff in order, and get ready for when we're allowed out. Get ready to unleash the beast. Okay, until the next time, this was the Comedy Defect Podcast. I'm Winter Funlander. You're you. See you next time.